Hi, today I'm going to show you something that has completely transformed my business workflow and saved me hours of tedious admin so it can do the same for you. Using Make.com and AI to automate my invoice process and manage communications with a client in a single click. In fact, you could adapt this to all sorts of tasks in your work that are time consuming. So in the next few minutes, I'll show you exactly how to build this system and why you absolutely probably need this in whatever you're doing, especially if you're a freelancer, a solopreneur, anyone running a business where you invoice people or have to do admin and your time is your most valuable asset. And I should say, this video is sponsored by Make.com because, well, I use it every day and I absolutely love it. In fact, I'm going to use this system to invoice them after. Hi, it's Simon. Welcome back to Better Creating. Let's talk about the problem. I absolutely hate doing invoicing. It's tedious work that always seems to pop up. I don't know if you find this, just when you've completed a creative project and you want to move on to the next challenge, and then you just have to do the admin. And to be honest, it takes me about an hour per client or sponsor to find their information, create the invoice, write up a follow-up email, send them reminders, and then multiply that by several clients a month. And we're talking 12 to 15 hours of pure administrative work. Well, what if I told you there was a simple automation setup that could turn this into this? And the great thing about this is there's no coding required. I just have a trigger button in Notion and everything happens automatically with some help from an AI ChatGPT assistant. Now it takes me one click and I've moved on to what I want to really focus on. Let me show you how it works. Okay, first up, let me give you an overview of what we're doing in here. If we go into my scenarios and jump into my auto invoicing setup, you can see it here. What we have is a set of actions, and any of these can just be created. Let's say you wanted to create a router, you just drop them in and we could start doing, other stuff off to different places if we wanted to, dropping things into the gaps. And you could make this into a really complex automation system. And with that router, we could actually start to send lots of different connections off from it. For example, I have an AI system that categorizes emails in my Notion support email and sends various different things and forms and helps customers with queries, all using ChatGPT, which is essentially working with an assistant. It's really super powerful. But you have to watch another video on that from me to find out about that email assistant. So we work from observing Notion. It has a filter to check a tag in my system. It creates an invoice, shares it with Notion, shares it with me on email to tell me it's happened, and then ChatGPT draws information from Notion, from the invoice, from my CRM, and create a custom email and email it to the client and then let me know in Notion that it's happened. Pretty cool. So if we jump to Notion, I'll just show you this in action. This is my homepage where I run everything. I have a CRM there, look, where you can see Pepper the cat, who we're going to be working with, and I have a content manager where you can see all of my current videos that I'm working on over the next period of time. Now, this is actually all based on my current Live OS template, the bundle template that involves this content manager so if you ever want to try this and actually build a system very similar to mine, there's a whole template for you to do that and manage your tasks and all the rest, but that's for another video, so get subscribed. So if we now jump into here, let me take a look at our example video, which is this video essentially. There goes my video info. There's a URL, let's say we'd published it, and we have the partner connected to it, which is actually my cat's AI corporation. Now, if we can jump into the CRM, and this is a view of all the information I've put in about my client. So this is the only thing I would really do. Put it all in. Now, you could build an automation to scrape information from an email and add them in if you wanted, which I have done, but this is enough for now. I build the video, and when I'm ready to go, I'm going to click Initiate. And you'll see it's updated this process tag, which we're watching in Make. Now, what's really cool about this is you can set this to operate as little or as much as you like. So if I go back to Make, it's not actually done anything yet because I have this, which is a rather cool system in Make, which allows you to set when you want it to run. So for example, I actually want this to go only on Mondays because really I'm only ever going to want to invoice on the day after I've produced the video. So that's great. So I've got a custom schedule ready to run. Let's just run it and watch what happens. The first thing I just want you to be aware of is that in Notion, this is set to initiate. And let's say actually we'd have updated this to that we were promoting the video. So let's run it. You'll see it starts to kind of show you the actions happening like this, which is rather good. And then if we go back, you'll see this change to processing, created, it's working its way along, and then you'll see it's completed it in a moment. There we go, it's added it there, and we will see this is now updated to drafted, and that is updated to invoicing. It's worked its way through, and each of these are, have instructions. Now, the one I want to just show you before we do the full build later is the AI element, which is the most exciting part. It's drawing information from Notion properties that are in that system, and then we're able to give it bespoke requests of what we want it to do. This is the power that essentially you can create an agent to do whatever you want within your own automation. Let's now take a look at what's happened. So we've got the invoice link is here. And if we now jump to my phone and we go into my email, you will see a new email appears to me with drafted to finance at Peppercorp. And there it is. Look at that. Really powerful stuff. You've got a nicely formatted email. It's got a link to download the invoice. And then ChatGPT has shared the video title, the video link, and its own summarization of what's in here. And it actually talks to us about how Peppercorp is involved in the video. Now, this is obviously just one example of what you might want to do with this. You're not always going to be someone who wants to invoice, but think about the possibilities across using AI to automate this kind of work. Not only that, let's just show you what else the thing has done. If we go into my inbox, we will also see here, there is an email to me just giving me a proof of what it's created. And even my colleague Colin has said, please reach out to Colin, your systems nerd, if you want help working on it. Love it. But this is where the magic has happened for the invoicing. We've got a kind of draft invoice. Let's just take a little look at this. So there is the template that we work from. And most excitingly, go into the archive. The document that's been shared with me is this new invoice, which you can see right here. There it is, all the information to Pepper as she needs it listed out. It's pretty powerful stuff. So now, I think it's probably time to show you how to build it. Now, what exactly is Make.com and why should you embrace it in your work? So think of it as the digital equivalent of those domino chain reactions you might have set up when you were a kid, where one action triggers the next, creating a beautiful sequence that does all the work for you. Now, Make lets you connect different apps and services together without writing a single line of code. And when you add AI into the mix through things like ChatGPT, Perplexity, Claude, and a bunch of others, we can create personalized communications that feel human written every time. And all this to say, automations are not as hard as you think, and they really do transform your work. So if you want to follow along, head over to Make.com via the link below and get 1 month free of their Pro plan, including 10,000 operations a month for free and a bunch of other perks. Thanks again to Make for partnering with me for this video and solving so many problems for me. I'll walk you through this step by step so you can adapt it to your own workflow. Let's do it. Okay, let's talk about how to build this. Now, for your sake and mine, I'm not going to try and completely rebuild this in front of you, but I am going to show you the elements and talk you through exactly. So you will be able to kind of pause the video and copy what I've done if you want to recreate this yourself. Now, the first thing you are going to need within this view is to create yourself. You can add a module. And when you do it, you're going to want to add a Notion module to watch databases. That is your first step. So let's just delete that. That is this module. And when you do it, you want to set it by updated time and find whatever content database you want to use or project management database that you want to use. This is just going to be a place essentially where your invoice and project client information is going to be. So you could do it with whatever client manager you have. Now, I personally use this automation as part of my Notion Life OS system. It's a kind of second brain template that I've created, and it integrates really well with a CRM and content manager database that I have within here. And this means that when a project is marked complete, the system already knows which client to bill, which services were provided, and all the relevant details needed for the invoice. Now, if you're interested in my full Notion setup that powers this automation, you can check out my Life OS bundle and my client and content OS available at bettercreating.com, where you could download it, use it, and adapt it to your needs. Now, let's just jump to Notion for a moment so you can see what I'm talking about here. I have a content database, and that's where all of this is held. If I just go to my published items and we can find the main setup, you're going to need to create yourself some sort of property or tag system within Notion. This is a select, and I've got these: initiate, start processing, created, and drafted. And then there's these on the end. So this is where it starts, not invoiced. And then when I click this button, which is, if you're interested, just a Notion button where the automation says when this button is clicked, change that to initiate. That's all that really is. It's just a nice way to be able to use it. So that would have been drafted by now. Great. Then I have a field for invoicing information, which is here, and that is rolled up from my related sponsor, which is here. So you could put all of this within your client system, however you want to do it. And you could do this on any client manager because Make works with lots of different things. And then I've got my fee and my expenses, which I'm not going to worry about, but they're all in there. We can put our expenses in and so on and so forth. If we now jump back to this, we're watching that database by updated time, and we've set a limit to 6. It just means that there could be up to 6 items that it works with. We then have a second Notion module, which is to update a database item. And within this, we're going to find the database. We're just going to drop in the database item ID, which is the specific page that we're on. And what we're doing is we're going to update the process invoice column to be processing. So it just updates the system. And if I wanted to, I could update anything else within here as well, but that's all very nice. Now, the important part here is actually the filter. So as we watch the database, we want to filter by any item that has 1 in it within the process invoice name section. And the reason we're doing that is because that's just my simple way, essentially, of making sure that this says 1 initiate. So it'll watch for anything that says go. We've set that up by pressing the button. You'll then look for it, go, yep, it is initiated, and update it to processing. And then that immediately moves us on to the next step, which is where we're going to fill out our new invoice. Now, this is a really nice kind of automated way to create an invoice. And then we'll move on to the really exciting AI bit in a moment. So to do this, what you're going to want to do is I'm using Google Drive, and that's what we're connecting to. So when you set this up, you'll want to create a Google Drive connection with your account. You can simply just click add, go in, sign in with Google, and set up your connection. It's pretty self-explanatory. And then we're going to do the action to create a document from a template. And we're going to go by drop down, choose a drive, and then we're going to find the document ID that we want. So the next thing I've done is I'm not going to show you my full version, but I've created the name of a specific invoice. We're just going to show you a demo, and within it, I've created my template of what I want my invoice to look like. Now, there's lots of ways you can do this, but mine essentially, anything with these little double commas, I don't know what they're called, but there you go, within them is going to be a field that will appear within the Make automation. So I've got my payment, my date, my invoice number, my year, expenses, video name, URL, invoice info, all the stuff that I want to import into that template is in there, and we've named the template. So if we go back to this, you can see that is the main template. It's named as we want it to be named, and that's also in brackets. So we're going to be able to update the name of the actual document. Very important. Very good. So let's look at how that is happening in here. So we first of all went in. This looks scary, but honestly, when you do this, you would click in here and you would just pick the name of a folder. That's just the link to it. And then you would pick the name like that. And then you would pick the name of the invoice, which is that. And we've selected it. Yeah. Then under values, you'll see all these different values come up, and we can put them in. So for the year value, I've got format date, now, and then format it in years. Y is 2025. I've got the invoice number, and here what we're doing is we're drawing from Notion to find the video number. So in my setup, it's this number here. This is how I class my videos in my list. This is the 224th video. So you get the idea. You can kind of go through and put whatever you want in. So I won't go into loads of detail, but mine essentially is, this is a useful one to know. This is for if you're trying to draw text from a roll up. This is the invoicing information. So in Notion, I have my invoicing information for Pepper here, but it's actually a roll up from my specific other database. So I can draw information with a roll up into a second database, and then in this view, I'm able to draw on it. And the cool thing about this is what we're really doing is we're finding the invoicing info. If you go to array, and then you can go to rich text and select the plain text, it will just put in the plain text that it's drawn in through that roll up. A good little trick for you Notion users. We've put in the video name, we've put in expenses. Now this is nice, this is an if statement. So we've got if empty, nothing, otherwise insert this property. So again, if I go back to Notion, on that, if I put something into here, $100 for cat food, that would then insert that in here, otherwise it will just leave it blank. We're gonna put in the fee agreed, that is where I insert that. You get the idea. And then finally, we go to title. This is the title of our document. That is this title of the document we're gonna create. So in Archive, you'll see it results in this happening. There you go, there's the titles. That we are doing format date now, and then the video number. So it's just a way of me naming it. You can do whatever you want. Then I want to say where I want to put it, the new drive location, my drive, and I am sending it to, as you can see here, Invoice Automations, Archive, and I'm going to put it into the Docs folder. And there it is. That is my new location. I click Save, and that is how you format documents with templates using an automation and Google Docs. But it gets better from there. Let's move on. We now want to update our Notion database, and this is just updating to say that it has created the invoice. So it's just a repeat of what we did back here. So it's just letting me know it's happened. Then we add a Gmail node, as I like to call them. And in this, we're giving a to address. I'm going to email it to myself and put the subject, the video name, invoice for video number created. And then here we have done some HTML formatting. This is just a process of dropping in what we want to say, and then you can drop in items like the actual information and the links to the exported PDF, and then that all drops in. So that is pretty powerful stuff. So when you click onto the page, you'll see that you can drop stuff in. And within the Gmail sections, there is an export links application PDF. And that's just a way of showing the link to the item. Export links, you can go to PDF, and that is essentially all the different ways that you could see it exported. So this is a really nice shortcut to creating a link to a PDF whilst not having to like save it anywhere. Really nice little thing. Now, all of this HTML, if you don't understand how to create HTML, you might be going, oh my God, this is a nightmare. So there's a very nice little trick here. If we just search codebeautify.org and then HTML viewer, this is really fantastic. You're essentially able to insert what you want to say. Now, what is quite nice about this, if I copy this, I will make this kind of framework available in the description for you if you want to try it. But if you go to codebeautify.org, one thing you're able to do is drop your HTML in and see what the formatting will look like. It's super powerful stuff, and this just allows us to kind of create these items and see how they're going to come out. And I think that looks really fantastic. So you can see the code within it, and it just solves the problem for you. Essentially what we're doing is adding the body, suggesting colors, Arial, all of the rest of it. That's number one. We then want to create an email which goes to the client. And this works in a similar way, but what we're going to be using is this very important element here where you can make this as fully created by ChatGPT as you like. And what we've done here is added a content repurposing bot. This is my link. You create your link. So you would just go in, find your link to OpenAI, set it all up, etc., etc. And this is my connection. And then I'm using a chat completion request. Here, you can pick what you want it to be. And it's going to go to my bot. The model, I'm happy with just the system model. And we've got two messages. We're adding one message, which is to just add variables. So I want to say video title, drop in these variables. And you can draw in and say, these are the bits of information to drop in. So I'm adding the title. I've got a little AI overview of my video in Notion. So I could do this on the whole script if I wanted to, but that's going to use quite a lot of credits. So we're actually finding it's fine with this to actually just use this, my AI overview. It's quite a nice little setup that I've created in Notion. And this AI, what's really good about this is it has a custom autofill, and I can kind of say what are the important elements I want it to talk about. I might want to say also, like, you know, cover stuff about the partnerships that are within it. So that's a nice little trick if you want to save a bit of money with ChatGPT. One AI agent to another, very nice. We're going to go back to this, and that's where the AI overview comes in as plain text. Then there's a second message here, and this message is where we speak to an assistant and we say, I would like you to do the following. You are a helpful assistant designed to process a Notion page containing an outline of notes for a YouTube video. Your task is to generate concise 2-paragraph summaries of the video. This summary is intended to be used around a sponsor. Ensure it's clear, professional, blah, 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 blah. There's many ways to write this, but I'm being really specific. Give me that for paragraph 1, give me that for paragraph 2, and then keep the tone aligned with our style. And you can give style guides and all of that. Do not include any conversation. And I added this because it was going, sure, here you go, and then dropping that into the email. So I've said here, do not include any conversation with me to confirm the action, and do not follow up questions, ask follow-up questions. So it just literally give me the information. And there we go, we click save. That then comes through into a formatted email. Same thing, create an email in drafts this time. So we're gonna do connect to Google. I want to, this one is, let's just zoom in. That's send an email, that's create a chat completion, and then this is create a draft. So we go into create a draft, and then I've put some HTML in here, and we've added the information from Notion, but most importantly, a link to the invoice, and then the result of the ChatGPT information. Pretty cool. So there you go. And finally, we go back into Notion and we update the database item to say that the system has completed it and it's drafted. So rather than show you that there, it's going to then update this view here to go to drafted. Simple as that. And once again, here are the results. There it is, your created answer, all produced with the AI friend of ours. And in our inbox, we can then click and view the completed invoice on the page. Now, when you're using ChatGPT within here, if we just create ourselves a module, you'll have options here to create a completion, a direct prompt, which is an example here, or you could message a specific assistant. And this, I think, takes things a lot further, a lot quicker. So if we click this, obviously it needs to be within the flow. So I'm just going to delete that. But if we go into assistants, if you want to try this, open a ChatGPT account and go to platform.openai/assistants, and you'll come to a view like this, probably with nothing in it. Now here is an example of my content repurposing bot. I've just created this, linked it to a specific model. You can depend what you want to do it on. I actually think that's quite a nice model for this. And you can actually add in files to link to files to give kind of instructions or context as well. But what's really nice about this is once you build this with a set of instructions, if we open up this, here's an example. You're a content repurposing bot, turn YouTube transcriptions into content. This is what it would be for Twitter, this is what it would be for YouTube. This is what we're using in another one of our automations. And then what you can do is link into that from Make. So if we just go out to a different example of this, a simple content repurposing example. I'm working on this at the moment, but essentially what it's doing is you create this node, content repurposing bot. All I have to do is then share the information I want to put into that bot with it. That's all I'm doing there. So there is the transcript of my video. That's it. Because that's in there, what it means is when I run it, the assistant and all its kind of very carefully crafted instructions will then operate on that basis. It's really powerful stuff. It's exactly how we're doing training assistants to observe our emails so that they can manage the relationship to those emails and classify them into different classifications, as you'll see in my other video if you want to check it out. So to create an assistant, if you want to do that, click on the create button. You just name it, you put your instructions in. It's pretty self-explanatory. The one thing you might want to do is go to usage. You might want to manage your limits. If you go to settings, organization, and limits, you're able to set a budget so it doesn't go over things, but you can also, if you go to billing, add some credit to your balance. I put $20 onto this and I've been using it for a year. So add a bit of credit, add $5 to the plan, and then you just have this little opportunity then to use an assistant. You do have to pay for it, but it's really, really like pennies on the dollar. All right, there you have it, a completely automated invoicing system that works while you sleep. This is just one example though of how combining an automation system like Make.com with AI can give you hours of your life back. Just imagine what else it could do for you. In fact, I have been doing a bunch of other things. You might want to check out next my complete personal assistant and AI system that manages my entire Notion-focused email. This thing will categorize emails into folders, replies to clients based on 15 different variables. It collects data from them and then sends me into the mix when it really needs my personal touch, meaning I've got more time to offer more value to more people. It's super powerful, and you can watch that video right here. Make sure you hit my face to get subscribed if you haven't, turn on the bell notification, and jump over to bettercreating.com if you want to check out those full Notion Life OS systems. Until then, keep creating your better life. So cheesy. See you soon. Bye.